Hello and welcome. We are so excited to have you guys join us this evening, afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I am waiting just a few moments for Tiffany to get logged in. I don't know how many of you guys had tech issues the last couple of days, but several of us have, and including Zoom, although they keep saying it's not. But we are so glad you've joined us. I hope you've got a cocktail, a beverage of some sort, a cup of coffee, something, and settled in comfortable for this wonderful conversation. We're going to give a few more minutes for people to get logged in. I've gotten a couple of messages, including our guest speaker, that Zoom made them reset passwords and do all sorts of things. So give us just a second and we'll get started. So we're still waiting for our Tiffany to get logged in. Why don't we talk amongst ourselves? What do you guys do for your self-care? What do you do when you know you need to refuel and replenish? I can actually unmute you if you want to talk, and we'll just kill a little time while we're waiting for Tiffany to get logged in. What about that? Anyone want to share what your self-care routine looks like? I'll share what mine is. I watch stupid romance movies like on Hallmark. I love the ones with Holly Robinson Pete. That was my morning after I saw the announcement from President Biden. So that I could get in the good mood for you guys. After church, I started watching one of her movies so I could shift my mind. So what do you guys do to replenish yourself? Oh, Deanna, am I pronouncing it right? Gianna, you like Holly Robinson Pete Hallmark movies too? And this month is Christmas in July with Hallmark. So I watched the one with she and Patti LaBelle. Pretty dress. Love that. Love that. Hey, Tiffany. Perfect. We were just killing time for you, and we were sharing what we do um, when we need to replenish. So I will start our conversation. Let me welcome you guys officially. Hopefully our team can edit out some of my babbles. Uh, but welcome. For those who don't know me, gosh, I just assumed everybody knew, but I'm Marie Boone Clark, and I'm co-founder of Birthing the Magic Collaborative. I am so delighted to host today's workshop as part of our ongoing efforts to provide valuable education and support to you, our community. We hope that our conversation today provides you with some tools and insights to enhance your well-being and navigate this journey of motherhood, or just, I know a lot of you may not be new moms, but just navigate this journey. So thank you for joining us today. And I am pleased to introduce Tiffany Taylor, who is a dedicated healer, educator, and speaker. She has over 19 years of experience, although she only looks like she's about 20. But she says she has 19 years of experience as a licensed clinical social worker. We may ask for proof of age. Tiffany's diverse background spans community mental health, forensic social work, medical social work, and hospice care. As a behavioral health officer in the U.S. Army Reserve, she continues to actively serve our military. And over the past 5 years, Tiffany is focused on sex therapy and education, raising awareness of human sexuality and its impact on relationships and our well-being. In addition, she is advancing her expertise by pursuing a Doctor of Social Work degree at Tulane. So please join me in welcoming Tiffany. Tiffany, I probably have not given honor to everything that you're doing, so please correct anything, add what we must do, and I know you're going to take us through a conversation about soulful care. So lend the floor to you. Oh, you're muted.
Yes, hello, everyone. How are you? And I am just so excited about this opportunity to come and talk to everyone. I will be very honest, open, and transparent because in my therapy practice, I always like to keep it hot, honest, open, and transparent. Life is lifing this morning or this afternoon. So I'm a little flustered, but we're going to get through it. We're going to have fun. We're going to engage in some soulful self-care that I probably need myself right now. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Awesome.
I shared with him, Tiffany, that Zoom was not doing good things and all sorts of, it's been a day. So I was very tempted to grab a bottle of wine. If you guys missed our fundraiser, we had Black Girl Magic wine.
Oh,
And so I've got a whole little wine cellar in there. And I was very tempted to pop one, but then the minister daughter and me said, not on a Sunday. So y'all are, I'm just gonna watch. But it was tempting after all the Zoom stuff. Luckily, I started an hour ago. So welcome.
yes. Not
And we can see your screen, yes.
Okay, yes. So this is I want this to be a conversation, even though I have a PowerPoint presentation. So Marie has been so graceful enough to kind of assist me with monitoring the chat. If there's questions that come up, or you could I think you can raise your little hand in Zoom, but feel free to interrupt me. It won't throw me off because I'm already thrown off clearly. So let's get started. So soulful self-care, a journey to emotional and spiritual stability. As she stated, my name is Tiffany Taylor. My pronouns are she and her. I am a licensed clinical social worker, behavioral health officer, all the things. She gave me a beautiful introduction, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. The only thing that I want to add is that I am a daughter, I am a sister, I am a child of God. I am a mother, which is part of the reason why I'm a little flustered, right? My daughter plays AAU basketball, and we have been playing basketball for almost 2 weeks straight now. And so I was just making sure that she had everything she needed to get to where she was going. So I hope that all of you or some of you can identify with mommying never stops, right? Um, trigger warning. So this presentation may contain topics, definitions, images that may evoke strong emotional reactions or feelings. In addition, sexual assault, domestic violence, physical violence can possibly arise. So I recognize that this content may be difficult for some, but it's necessary for us to educate and promote healing. So if that comes up, please do what you need to take care of yourself for your safety and well-being. Please, please, please reach out to me or Marie if you are needing more support after that. So kind of what we're going to go over today is we're going to define soulful self-care. I want you to be able to walk away with the understanding of the significance of soulful self-care for your emotional well-being and spiritual health. You will be able to identify some of the unique challenges that are faced by Black women, women of color during their perinatal journey, and explain some of the impacts. And I hope that you walk away with at least one resource or coping skill to implement in your soulful self-care toolbox. So I have a short little clip. Disclaimer, I know Chrissy Teigen is not a Black woman, but the story was relevant. So just a few minutes of this.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need.
Turning out of Chrissy Teigen, who is opening up for the first time about her private health battle, revealing exclusively in the new issue of Glamour that she struggled with postpartum depression. ABC's Diane Macedo is here now with more. Good morning to you, Diane.
Lara, good morning. So Chrissy Teigen said she was convinced this could never happen to her. And on paper, her life seems pretty perfect. But now she's pulling back the curtain on some scarily dark days and hoping to show that postpartum depression does not discriminate. She's half of one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples, most recently seen on a date night at the Oscars with husband John Legend, doing her best to stay up late.
Open up. There you go.
That's especially challenging since becoming a mom to her beautiful daughter, Luna. But now Chrissy Teigen is opening up to Glamour magazine about her secret struggle with postpartum depression, saying, "I didn't think it could happen to me. I have a great life. I have all the help I could need, but postpartum does not discriminate."
None of us would have guessed this watching the beautiful, perfect, lively life that she has on Instagram, but this was her reality.
The 31-year-old model is not alone. According to the CDC, about 1 in 9 women experience postpartum depression. Chrissy says she was tired of being in pain. She lost her appetite, couldn't sleep, couldn't leave the house, was always upset, and was unable to enjoy life.
Chrissy knows what a perfect life to come out and say, this has been hard for me. She had a hard time with that.
Teigen now wants to spread the message that postpartum depression is nothing to be ashamed of, writing, "I'm speaking up now because I want people to know it can happen to anybody, and I don't want people who have it to feel embarrassed or to feel alone."
And how do you address the guilt factor? Women need to let that misconception go. Because look, you would get help for any other medical problem, right? And postpartum depression is a medical problem and should be treated like one.
Teigen is still experiencing some symptoms, but says she's starting to feel better after finally getting the help she needs. Writing, "More than anything, I want to have enough energy for Luna. As she gets older, she's becoming more and more fun. Her eyes are getting so wide, and I want to be there for those wide eyes." And Chrissy says, despite her struggles.
So I wanted to share that little snippet to kind of set the stage on this journey that we're about to go on for the next a little less than an hour now. I want to share a little bit about me and my journey to motherhood. So I felt like I had done all the things right when it comes to being raised Southern Baptist, Christian, all the things, you know, of having a baby, getting married, having a baby. So I got married, had a baby, well, got married. And we both were very much into our careers. And, you know, during that time, I didn't conceive. We weren't really actively trying. And I had been having some abnormal periods. This was going on for me pretty much all my life, but, you know, no one, especially like my mom is definitely, I don't know about y'all, but the conversation that I have with my mom about sex and intimacy and all the things, right, including childbirth, was very limited, right? So needless to say, very early in our marriage, I ended up getting diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, had never heard of it, didn't know what it was. But at that point, we weren't really trying to get pregnant, so I just kind of went on with life. But then about 5 years into being married, started to kind of feel that itch that I wanted to get pregnant. I would say that my journey to motherhood wasn't as difficult as some people that I know who have PCOS or fibroids or endometriosis, all of the things, right? Fortunately for us, we didn't have to go through IVF. I was able to get pregnant, had some complications during birth as well. Ended up being in labor for almost 3 days, and then with them trying to induce me, and ended up having to have a C-section, brought her home, all the things, right? So I'm sharing this story to set the stage, right? Because I don't know that we talk about as a community, or let me say broadly, as a society, right? About just how complex motherhood, the journey to motherhood can be, right? And then also all of the things that come after that. So just kind of wanted to set the stage for this journey that we're about to come on. So this magical journey, right, can look different for everyone. So you have the creation of life, and that is really the moment, from the moment of conception, it marks the profound experiences, the beginning of new life, and the continuation of human existence. During this time, this journey, right, you're also going to experience personal transformation, emotional depth, bonding, love, spiritual connection. So the emotional depth that you might experience can be from the journey of childbirth, right? And it also includes that if you are someone who experiences loss during this as well, right? That is also something that is emotional. Even if you do deliver a child, it can still be very emotional. I know most people talk about the happy things and the joy that you may experience, but that's not always everyone's truth, right? And then you have to think about, as they were saying in the video, the shame and guilt that may come over you because you might be feeling sad, because everybody says that you should feel happy, right? You're pregnant or you're having a baby, all of the things, right? So it can definitely be a mix of joy, anticipation, sadness, depression, anxiety, all of the different things. As far as spiritual connection, for many, conception all the way to childbirth. And then I'm going to also add in, if there is loss, it is a spiritual event, right? That fosters a very profound connection between mother, baby. Also, I'm not going to leave out dad, right? And oftentimes our support networks, right? For me, it was my mom, as well as my dad, and just friends, like community that I've created. So it can also be a very scary moment that's full of potential and promise. Now, the personal transformation, I want you to put in the chat, right? If you experience any personal transformation during your journey, right, to motherhood. Childbirth often can lead to significant personal growth. For me, I always say, because I have a beautiful 14-year-old daughter, I really felt like when I delivered her, I stepped into my womanhood, right? And I found my voice. So I don't know, like if she were not here, if I didn't have her, if I would be doing all this speaking and stuff that I do now. I guess we'll never know. But I really felt like I was able to step into who I really am as a person. So definitely personal transformation happened for me. And then last but not least, there is a lot of bonding and love that you experience on this magical journey, right? The first moments, if you can remember the first moments of life outside of the womb, are so crucial for establishing deep emotional connection. I would also beg to say that from the moment that you are probably told that you are carrying a child, it is a bond. It's an undescribable bond. I've oftentimes, and I say myself, I didn't think that I could love someone so much, right? So definitely on this journey, right? All of those things you may experience. So after baby, right, there are different type of perinatal mental health concerns that may arise. And I'm gonna just browse over these or breeze through these very quickly because that's not our topic today, but I didn't want to not bring them up, right? So you have perinatal depression, which often refers to minor depressive episodes that occur during pregnancy or within the first year after delivery. Some of the symptoms may include persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, changes in sleep patterns, feelings of worthlessness or guilt. And then you also have peripartum anxiety, right? And that can encompass a range of things like panic disorders. Excessive worry is one. One of the ways that I like to differentiate between depression and anxiety is excessive worry about the future. And then depression is excessive worry about the past. I actually am working with a mom in my practice right now who just had a bubbling, I think 11-pound baby boy. And she anxiety. So we were working through that, and now baby's here. And guess what? She cannot sleep because she is so worried about missing out on something, even though her husband is there, and I think both her mom and her mother-in-law are there. But just in her mind, she's created the story that she should be doing all the things, right? So I think the last session that I had with her, baby was 10 days old. She's not sleeping. And we know, like, she's breastfeeding, like you have to get rest. It's so, so important. Also, there is peripartum post-traumatic stress disorder, peripartum bipolar, there is peripartum obsessive compulsive disorder, and peripartum psychosis. So I won't go into all of those. If you want more information, you can just let me know. So all of those things described, right? And really one of the reasons why I wanted to insert that video with Chrissy Teigen is that whether it's peripartum depression, anxiety, OCD, whatever, right? It doesn't discriminate. And so often we are told that when we are experiencing these things, that we are just supposed to be in this place of being a mother. And one of the analogies that I like to use in my therapy practice as well is, when you're on the airline and they say, in case of an emergency, the little I don't know what that thing is, flops down, right? And they say, you have to put your mask on yourself first before you can save anyone else. So yes, we have to stop suffering in silence. We have to be able to take the time to take care of ourselves. If you are experiencing, or you know someone that may be experiencing any of those symptoms, please make sure that you're discussing the concerns with your healthcare provider. Learn how to delegate and prioritize sleep. Moving is also going to help with some of those symptoms, right? Getting sunlight, vitamin D is definitely helpful. And then being able to ask for help, and you may have to consider individual or couples counseling. So in a broad view, those are all the things, right? But what we're going to focus on is making time for soulful self-care, because this is something that you can do for yourself. You don't necessarily need someone else's assistance. So our working definition for today is about soulful self-care is, it is the intentional, I love that word, intentional practice of nurturing one's emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being through activities and routines that promote inner peace, self-awareness, and resilience. So bottom line up front, it is a holistic practice that nurtures your mind, body, and spirit. Now, drop in the chat if you had even thought about soulful self-care, right? What are some of the things that you already incorporate in your life that you may not have thought about as self-care? Now, I like to make this differentiation, right? So getting your hair done, getting your nails done, and I would even say maybe getting a massage is not necessarily self-care. Even waxing or getting eyelashes, all those things, while they're wonderful, they're great, I personally consider them as maintenance, right? They're definitely great things to help you with your upkeep of yourself, but they're maintenance, right? Self-care, and specifically soulful self-care, is intentional. It's an intentional practice. It's something that you set aside the time, right, to say, I am doing this for me, right? So that I can nurture my mind, my body, and my spirit. So why is soulful self-care important? Well, first, it helps with emotional well-being. It's going to enhance emotional stability. It helps with resilience. It helps with managing stress. It also is going to promote self-love and compassion. Soulful self-care also helps to provide mental clarity so that you can feel more focused and you're able to concentrate, because, you know, as a mom, you are making very important decisions. So mental clarity is definitely important. It also helps with spiritual growth. This is going to help foster a deeper connection, not only with oneself, but also with whoever your higher power is. It enhances spiritual wellness and your inner peace. It also is important because it is empowerment, right? You just heard me a few minutes say that I felt like I found my voice, right? I stepped in to my womanhood. So it's going to help build confidence. It's going to help build your self-esteem. It also encourages autonomy and really also self-advocacy. It also helps with coping with challenges and holistic integration, which really just promotes balance between mind, body, and soul. That's what holistic integration is. It also helps with preventative, which we don't talk a lot about, right? Oftentimes, especially with our healthcare providers, there is a lot of focus point on treatment. And I do see there's more efforts, right? And working towards being more preventative, but implementing self-care is going to definitely help maybe prevent some health issue that you might have, or some type of mental health issue that you may experience. And then last but not least, soulful self-care is important because it honors and incorporates cultural practices and traditions as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your toolbox. I didn't get to open the chat and see what anybody was saying. So yes, so true, Tiffany. We do not talk about our experiences enough, and sharing can help one another. Personal transformation. I love it, Melissa. Go back out. So in your self-care toolbox, if you didn't have one, now you're going to have one, right? You're going to walk away with at least one tool, and I want to just discuss a few tools. So one is grounding techniques. So as you can see on this slide, these are 6 ways to practice grounding, right? So what exactly is grounding? So grounding is definitely a technique that can be used to help ease anxiety and help reduce intense emotions that you may be feeling. They're helpful because they help bring your body, especially your mind, back to the focus moment. It helps reduce the stress, and they work by engaging your senses. So the first one, if you see on the screen, is body, right? So laying on the ground, press your toes into the floor, squeeze Play-Doh. Those are just examples. One that I definitely like to incorporate, very literal, right? Grounding is walking outside barefoot. I do know some holistic practitioners that actually have like a tub of, I'm gonna call it earth, but it's dirt, right? Ground. They keep in their office or in their homes, right? And they just place their feet in there. It's grounding, right? Literally. Next you have your 5 senses. So wearing your favorite shirt, your sweatshirt, use of essential oils, making a cup of tea, because we have, with your senses, you have your sight, sound, taste, hearing, and feeling. So making sure, like, for example, for today, part of my ritual or routine, anytime I'm doing any type of speaking engagement, is I'm engaging in sensuality, right? Which is incorporating my 5 senses. I take a hot shower, I have my music going, I have my candles going. Actually, I have a beautiful candle going here. I'm gonna make sure that I have water, and especially today, right? I was feeling very frantic because the computer wouldn't boot up, but making sure that I am just trying to stay present in this moment. Also self-soothing, which is, again, like taking a hot shower, a hot bath, lighting a candle, and then observing. So one of the techniques with grounding is using your 5 senses to look at something, right? So if you're feeling very right, or intense motions, and there's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method that we'll go over, and I won't go into that part right now, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't let me forget to talk about that. And then deep people do not really recognize the benefits of breath, right? When you are stressed when you are anxious, when you're feeling very, very intense emotions, if you just stop for a moment and really get into your body, you will notice that maybe your shoulders are very uptight, right? So making sure that you are relaxing, kind of shaking your neck a little bit. And then you also may notice that you may hold tension, like in your jawline, also like clenching. So breathing is going to help you do that. It can be just as simple as taking just a few breaths, right? So just 2 breaths. If that's all that you can do, that's all that you can do. And then distraction is also another grounding technique that you can use. So I wanted us to be able to practice some of these techniques, because again, we wanted you to be able to walk away with tools to put in your toolbox. So if you could find yourself a comfortable position, preferably that your feet are touching the ground. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to close your eyes and just make sure that you can still be able to hear my voice. So that took all of what? Less than 4 minutes. I wanted you to be able to see a emotional and spiritual practice, right? That you can incorporate. It doesn't take a lot of time, right? Again, we are always so busy. There's always something to do, but we have to be intentional, right? So again, this tool, right, that is now in your toolbox, it is something that you can incorporate when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling sadness, to help take care of yourself, this soulful self-care technique. Now, if you may say, Tiffany girl, look, I am really into that meditation thing. I get it, right? I can say for me, meditation it took me a minute to kind of get into it. One, because I have ADD, so my mind is going a million miles per hour. I always tell people when you're starting out with meditation that you do not need to try to meditate for 15, 20 minutes, right? Meditation is using your mind, body, and soul. And so with anything, right, it takes practice. And so as you are maybe beginning to implement meditation into your self-care practices, it takes practice. So if you feel like as you may be meditating, if something comes up, oh gosh, I forgot to put the laundry detergent in, I forgot to start the laundry, I forgot to start the dishwasher, it is okay. Things are going to come up, right? As they come up, you just notice them, right? Hey, that thought came up. What happens, or where we run into trouble and get distracted, is we start judging ourselves because something came up. Meditation does not necessarily mean that your mind is blank and that nothing is going on, right? It's just being aware of what comes up and then centering or refocusing yourself. So another toolbox for you is going to be affirmations. I don't know, Marie, are they able to come off mute? I would love for us to read this out loud together, and I would love to hear everyone's voices.
We can. Give me
Okay.
just a sec. I will unmute it. I will unmute
If
everyone.
not, it's okay. I'll just trust that everybody does it.
Okay, I unmuted a couple.
Okay. And you don't have to come on screen, right?
No,
So
they're not on screen.
affirmations are thoughts, right? That you are saying to yourself, positive thoughts. We have this part of our brain called the reticular activation center, right? So I talk a lot about this when people are talking about manifestation and vision boards, right? That is the part of your brain that activates when you are doing affirmations to start to seek out the things that you are affirming. For example, have you ever noticed like you had this dream car, right? And you maybe have been manifesting it, or maybe it was on your vision board, or you're thinking about it a lot. And you just notice now when you're driving down the street that everybody has this car, right? Well, it's not that everybody has bought this car, that your dream car. It is that your brain, the reticular activation center, is actually being very intentional in seeking it out because you have, put it out there in the universe and to yourself that this is something that you desire. So that is the power in affirmations. So when I am teaching affirmations to my clients as well as my own practice, I always place one hand over my heart and I place the other one on my, and I'm usually looking in a mirror, but we're improvising today, right? So if the people that are off mute, we can just read these together and affirm ourselves. So the first one, I am powerful,
powerful and courageous and deserving of joy.
I embrace
I embrace my
Journey
journey with strength and grace,
strength,
knowing I'm supported and loved.
knowing I am supported and loved. My worth
My worth
is
is not defined
not
by my
defined
ability
by my
to
ability to conceive.
I honor
I
and
honor
I
respect
and
honor and
respect my body
and will allow it
and
to
allow it
heal
to
and
at
will
its
allow
heal
own
it
at its
to
own
pace.
heal at
pace.
its own pace.
I am
I am
Complete,
complete,
whole,
whole and
and
deserving of
deserving of
love,
happiness
happiness
and
and
pleasure.
pleasure.
So while I have a few people off mute, does one person mind sharing the tools that we have done so far? Let me know, how do you feel? What do you think?
Nana, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Has her hand up.
Okay.
Was that intentional, Nana? And she's one of the people who's not unmuted. Hold on a sec, Nana. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to unmute you, Nana. Was that intentional? If not, we'll go to Karen. Karen Burnett.
Peace, blessing, and imagine possibilities. One of the things that I utilize when I'm doing affirmations is I always preface the affirmations in my journey because all of the journeys are different. All of our bandwidths are different. All of our support tribes are different. And I never want anyone to believe that their journey is going to be the same as someone else's journey.
Yes.
So in the midst of building their toolkits, I ask them to select the tool that they almost like using a fire extinguisher. What is the tool that you need immediately? And place that at the top of your tool, at the top of your toolkit. And then put the other things underneath so that they always have the one go-to that they know will work most expediently for them in that portion of their journey.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you mentioned that you use affirmations.
Yes.
Is that just a practice you've always had, or is it something that was taught, learned? How did you get into using affirmations?
A combination of all of those things. I was using affirmations long before they were being languaged as affirmations. I'm a product of the 60s, and my parents' home were a part of the think tanks. So I grew up always knowing about I'm Black and I'm proud. And you are a beautiful, you are a beautiful brown girl.
Yeah.
I love your beautiful curly natural hair. And I did not know at that time that my parents and those in my tribe were setting the groundwork for self-love. Especially when we know that colorism is alive and well, even in our communities.
Right.
So I didn't know that those things were affirmations. I started doing oratorical speaking when I was in high school, and often was told, of course, you talk like you're white. My father used to tell me, you talk like you have some place to go and something to do because you're going to be somebody. So every time I encountered what individuals thought were things to fortify a negative foundation, my tribe was reinforcing me with the rebar that allowed me to withstand all of those things. So affirmations are something I just use intrinsically. No, she's beautiful and bright because she's more than her appearance. So let's flip that. She's bright, smart, and beautiful. So I think that my faith says to speak those things as though they are. So affirmations are simply what we know to be true as a result of faith. But we get to use them to make sure that they are fortified for right instead of fortifying for eventually what will become wrong.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. I can't see if there's anyone else that has something to say.
Nana said that was an error. She did not mean to raise her hand. Is there anyone else? I don't see anyone else, Tiffany.
Okay, so the last little tool that I want us to use is more incorporating our body, right? So as you can tell, I really love visuals and music, right? So I am a little bit of a country girl. I love the blues. So we're gonna move our body. You don't have to get up out of your seat to do this because I'm gonna do it in the chair as well. So this is one of the songs. I feel like it's an affirmation as well. But as the music is playing, I want you to begin, right, to do some small circles with your body. I don't know if you guys can see me. So as I play, I will instruct. Ready? Hopefully there's no commercial that comes up. You can do some small shoulder rolls. And you sway side to side. I'm sorry, I always close my eyes. Girl, you got it. Act like you know it. And if you're swaying side to side, I want you to mix it up now and go back and forth. Almost like you're in a rocking chair. And a pro tip in this is to add some Kegels in this as well. So we're also strengthening our wound. Back to side to side. Right now, we're gonna start a little smaller. I see you looking good tonight. And I know you can't see me. I'm doing mine more so with my hips.
So good, and you look so nice. I wanna get next to you, babe. If only for just one night. Girl, I've been trying so hard, trying to find the words to explain the way you
Go back side to side.
It make it hard to make
Front and back.
I gotta tell you, baby, the way that I feel. I can't sugarcoat it, baby. I gotta tell you like it. Act like you know it. You got it. You might as well show it. Girl, you got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you got it. You might as well show it.
So as you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're breathing, you're not holding in your breaths.
Let's have a let's have you got it. Girl, be ashamed. Be ashamed. You got it. Go ahead, do your thing. Go ahead, do your thing. Go ahead, do your thing.
How was that? Would anybody like to comment, or y'all can put it in the chat if you don't want to come off of mute. Just let me know your thoughts about that tool. So I don't know why these are not showing up. Resources, there are great books on here. Don't know why they're not showing up, but Marie, I can email you my PowerPoint slide if you want to send it out so that folks have these resources as well.
That'll be great. I just dropped the link for the music because I couldn't hear it. I don't know if it was on
Oh, y'all should have told me.
I wasn't sure if it was on my end or not. So
Okay.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. So sometimes and that's why I keep going in and off camera because I don't want my bandwidth to affect yours. I don't know if someone told me that.
Okay.
So.
And it's storming a little bit here in Georgia, so I was hoping that that didn't become an issue as well. But I will email you this PowerPoint presentation so that folks can get the resources.
Okay.
And then if you scan this QR code, this is actually a playlist, which is another tool that you can use as well. That's specifically I made for this workshop. And I'll just leave that up and I can pass it back to you to see if there's any questions, comments.
Thank you so much for this. I have shared in the chat, your friend and mine, Dr. Olympia O'Neill, had sent an app that has affirmations and a discount code. We'll make sure that's in our email. This was great conversation. I think one of the things that really resonated for me, Tiffany, and I'd love to hear what others thought as well. And I know we're at the top of the hour, but hopefully we can still just a few minutes since we were running a little late, is talk a little bit more about how when people talk about self-care, they tend to say it's getting your hair done and your nails done and, a facial. And you said that's not so much self-care as maintenance.
Yeah. And I would say particularly, right, for women, getting our hair done, our nails done, all of those things are things that we kind of do to upkeep, right? So that's more so maintenance. Self-care is intentional. Self-care could actually be a nap, right? So if you are a person, like for me, I already don't sleep well sometimes because my brain is constantly going. So I know that sometimes the self-care tool that I might have to use is nap, right?
Okay.
Self-care could also look like, something as simple as taking deep breaths, affirmations. It could also look like going for a walk, being out in nature. It is time that you have set aside intentionally to say, I'm going to take care of myself right now in these
So
moments.
self-care is more about nurturing my inner self. Would that be safe to say? And like my well-being, i.e. the piece around walking or practicing yoga, or am I getting to that correctly? And then maintenance is more about the aesthetics or the physical appearance.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. What is and then is there like a ideal frequency, or is it really made more around what we sense that we need?
So I believe that you should be intentional every day about self-care.
Okay.
But again, like most things, right, we have to get into practice. If after this, workshop, you notice this is not something that you're doing, because a lot of times we do things after the fact, after we are completely stressed out, or after we've experienced this emotional, outburst or whatever it may be, then we try to do the thing. So at that time, your reservoir is empty. It's nothing there, right? So we want to make sure we're doing little things. That's why I wanted to give like little tools, right, that you can do that don't take a lot of time, that are helping us to refill before we get on E.
That's a good point, because the exercises
So ideally,
oh, I was just saying that they were less than 5 minutes.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that that's a good point. They were less than 5 minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was reminded of, I don't know if anyone else is a Peloton fan, but Tunde, the Peloton instructor, she always talks about how we, if our phone is on 25% or even 30% or whatever, we're rushing to plug it in, but we let our bodies and our minds get to zero before we plug in and recharge. So that's a good point. I want to, Karen had made a comment about grounding techniques, and that she believes they should be taught as a co-coping skill from birth. Would you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yes. And I know that I'm not a doula or anything, but I know that grounding, or I've heard and kind of seen where people may use like different objects as like a focal point. To me, that's also like grounding, right? So grounding, I think that's a great idea. It should be taught to help ease anxieties, emotions. Because again, we talk about all of these things, right, to help us kind of get through the childbirth, but then there's like not a lot of emphasis on what to do after. How do we care for ourselves? How do we care for our emotional self? How do we care for our spiritual self as well during this time? So yes, I don't know if that answered the question.
I think you did, and Karen is a full spectrum doula, perinatal educator, and ACSW. So that was the point, that was from where she was coming from.
Is there something that she wanted to add? That
and
maybe
I just popped in and asked if anything she wanted to elaborate on.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yes, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. I was actually, I was multitasking. One of my staff was calling out for tomorrow. But as far as grounding, I also show mothers how to use that with their toddlers, to get toddlers to ground, but more importantly, to get mothers to ground so that they're not having energy battles. So one of the things that I when they're crying, I want you to hold them and I want you to slow your breathing. So because our bodies will naturally synchronize breathing. So I need you to slow your breathing so that your child can slow their breathing. When your heart rate goes down, your baby's heart rate will go down. So whether you're listening to the same music that you say you're listening to while you're pregnant, or whether you put on the same sound bath that you say that you're utilizing while you're pregnant to calm yourself. I want you to reconnect to that. And then when they become toddlers and they're crying and you can't understand them, simply instead of allowing yourself to get worked up, say, I cannot understand you when you're crying. So let's breathe together so that once we slow down our breathing, I'm able to understand you because you can use your words. So again, instead of having power struggles, you're co-regulating each other's behaviors and reactions. So you're not having power wars, but more importantly, you're allowing them to learn to self-regulate very, very early on by using their words. Because all too often we find that older children, they don't have that social emotional learning piece and or those executive functions. And a lot of adults have missed those also.
Right. Definitely. And you're helping them already start their toolbox, which is going to definitely come in handy for them as they start their journey. Right. I love that.
I do too. My daughter practices that. I didn't know if it was that it was actual formal. I wasn't sure where she got it from. We have twins.
Oh.
Children. And so I've seen her sit down wherever we are with little Guy and Karen, I think we may be working on a workshop here for parents. I'm going to be reaching out. Tell girlfriend.
I would love to. I would love to. But anyone that's in this space with us right now, please take the time to look up social emotional learning and executive functions. Because again, all too often, we already may be using them, but not know the technical term for them. But a lot of those skills are learned out of order and or because in certain cultures and or in certain spaces, they are not allowed to be practiced. Children and adults become stifled, and then they have trauma responses when they're put in positions when they should have a coping skill that they can go to. So social emotional learning and executive functions.
Thank you. Thank you for
I know
that.
I'm sorry,
Tiffany.
I was going to say, I know here in Georgia, in the county that my daughter's in, I think in middle school is when I started noticing, hearing them use that term, social emotional. But I love that we need to encourage that, like as toddlers, right? Because learning how to self-regulate your emotions is so important, right? There's a lot of adults that don't even know how to do that sometimes. So starting, when they're teeny tiny, it just makes it easier and it becomes more of a habit as well.
Very good point.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, thank you, Karen. So we actually came out with two ideas, one being using the grounding technique during the birth process, which I love that concept as well. And that was how I had read Karen's initial comment in the chat, but then now learning, see guys, hanging out with us, you learn so much. But I really appreciate and love the thought of integrating this in our child rearing. And particularly to the point for that new mom who's trying to regulate herself. And so just taking that moment. I know we've run out of time. Thank you, Tiffany, so much. We will share the links from our chat in an email with you along with Tiffany's presentation. Join us tomorrow. We have the series will continue through the week. I know at noon Eastern tomorrow, we have Susan Lowe, who's doing a phenomenal discussion around how our past experiences, including trauma, can affect our experience as a parent, mom. And so please join us for that conversation. Go to our website to see all of the workshops that we have. Tiffany has given us a tiny little peek into somatic experience. We're going to have an entire workshop centered around that. So you guys will come with a lot more knowledge than what some of us will have on Thursday, I believe it is. And then stay tuned, because I think we're going to convince Karen into doing a workshop on our parenting. But we are so grateful for your time and energy today, Tiffany. It was wonderful. Thank you guys in the audience for your patience and for being so engaged. I will be go back and watch In a Birth of Midnight Swing. And then, oh, Gina says she's at a birth and she's been listening in. So talk about doing dual work here. And yes, we will have this on our YouTube channel. The recording will be on our YouTube channel. And you'll have access to it, and you can share it with your clients. Anything at all that we can do to support your work, those of you who are practitioners in the field, let us know. Tiffany, thank you again. I hope the storm is not too crazy. You guys have gotten hit a lot in the recent months. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.